Fabulous. Okay. And this is an interactive program. So basically it's like a workshop format, and I will be eliciting questions, and Jennifer has my link to the prizes. So you will be getting prizes. You also get a prize for filling out the feedback form, because these are always a work in progress, and the more feedback I can get from you, the better I can make the program as it continues. So if you're in the right place, this is the Money and Businesswoman workshop. Relationship workshop today. I am an associate certified coach with the International Coaching Federation, an affiliate coach with Accomplishment Coaching, and the CEO and head coach of the Success Partner. Success Partner is my own brand, my own business. I am a serial entrepreneur. This is my fifth business. I've also had a law firm, a real estate investment company, briefly a restaurant. That's a story we'll have to tell over margaritas one day. I am a dedicated cat mom, so I have with my parents 3 cats right now, and we're adopting 2 kittens this weekend from a rescue, and super excited about that. And when I'm not working or presenting, I do draw, and cannot wait to get back to traveling again. My poor passport is so dusty and lonely. So when you looked at the title of this workshop, you're probably like, what is she talking about? The money and the businesswoman relationship. So why relationship? Does anybody think this is an odd title? That's a question.
Yes, I thought it was an
unusual. Any nodding or waving?
I thought it was a bit unusual, but
okay.
I went with it.
Great. I love it. And I love you. I love your spirit. Say, hey, we're going to take a risk and we're going to roll with this. Okay. So true or not, this is a lens to look through today. So we have relationships with everything. We have relationships with our career, our partners and spouses, our family, our friends, our health, our food. We talked about food a little bit because, you know, it is lunchtime. So we have relationships in all of these segments. And the biggest relationship we have is with ourself. So how we look at evolving that and growing in that to make the self even better. So in your relationship with money, bear with me on this. So what is your context? What is your universal truth around money? Money is, money means. Will someone share?
Freedom.
Who will share?
Freedom.
Okay, freedom.
That's
a source.
That's a good one. I love that one. A source of stress. A source of stress.
It could also be
what else? What is money?
It could be a source of comfort if you have it.
Mm-hmm.
Security.
Security. I saw Christy come off mute. She's thinking.
I'm thinking. Means to the things that you need or want. Yes. Mm-hmm. One of the means.
Need or want? One of the means. One of the means. There are certainly others.
I think the more you have, the more you can give.
Giving.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Anything else? Any other like context or truth?
I would say that money is a human construct.
A human construct, certainly money is completely made up. It goes back to when you were trading chickens for rent and growing crops and sharecropping, giving money back to the whoever's land you were using. I guess all the way back to like trading and when we first started as a human culture, human evolution, settling and being in one place, we had to come up with money. It wasn't just forage and move and go on. And so money is one of those big things that we all sort of have a context around. We have a truth, and it's, you know, money is blank. So we could also say like spouses are blank, kids are blank. You know, we have this, you know, men are, like I say, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So this is like these little contexts that we come about. Anything about specifically like in your business? What about money in your business? What is money in your business?
Scarce. Just teasing. I actually put in the comments, money works for me. If you invest early, you can watch as it compounds and grows.
Oh,
Because I was a finance major. Yeah, it's the big thing we learned.
yeah, very, very mature. So Jennifer, I'm going to have to ask you to put, if stuff comes in the chat and it's particularly juicy, jump in and read it for me. If people are being shy and they want to just put stuff in the chat. Because I can't see that and see them.
Not a problem. I will do that.
Fabulous. All right, so we can see some beliefs about money coming out. So where did these beliefs come from? Who will share where their beliefs about money came from?
Parents.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one. You share about money or taught you about money? Just in like one sentence. It doesn't have to be the whole shebang.
You broke up a little bit.
Your sphere of friends and family.
Friends, family, definitely. What else? Where did you learn your beliefs about money?
Time and experience.
Time and experience. Experience, like maybe your first job or your first couple clients.
Work, life.
Yeah.
World
you-
events.
World events. Yes. Yes. Your first relationships, even your place of worship. They say 10% of your income should come to your place of worship. I think that's like a universally accepted thing, or maybe it was just something that I grew up with as well. My particular church of growing up, they did our financial report for the church every single Sunday. So that was very much in my mindset. Also your first job. I mean, were you paid what you were worth? Were you paid just the very, very minimum? And then of course, relationships. So you get in a relationship and like sometimes you're a spender and they're a saver, or they're a saver and you're a spender, or let's say you're both savers and that's maybe kind of boring, or you're both spenders and well, that's another scenario completely. So as we've gone along with time and experience, we have developed these sort of beliefs, and these become the go-tos. So when somebody says money, you automatically go with money is scarce. Money is something I can give away if I have more of it. So just keying in on some of the things that we've brought up. Any other juicy nuggets in the chat that I'm missing? No? Okay.
No,
All right. All right. I did mention you get prizes for participation, right? Okay, great. So the idea today is
it sounds like Demar is trying to say something. Demar, your sound is really quiet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me put it. Does that help any?
Not really.
Let's see. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, I found with doing these Zoom workshops, it's so beneficial to have an extra person to do it. The first couple ones I did, I would have 2 laptops and an iPhone, and I would be like me and then other me, and then put questions in the chat me, and it's like, okay, you just cannot do everything at once. So great. So basically our relationship, and I picked this one, I thought this was such a fun slide, also in Canva, this like, relax and create the money situation that you would like to create. So we're looking at these beliefs. So would anybody share a belief about not money, but something that you believed either from your parents or from your upbringing that turned out to be not true, and then you embraced it fully? Does anyone have a story they would share?
So I can share with, my dad's a PhD in economics and my mom's a IRS agent. So there's just been a lot of discussions about money throughout my life, and a lot of fear that you don't have enough, right? So the investing early on, everything. And then in corporate America, I was making a somewhat decent living, not anything special around here, but I was happy with what I was making. And, but I was very unhappy with my career. So when I stopped working for the man, so to speak, and started my own business, it took, I would say, over 2+ years to get over some money mindset issues where I had kind of equated making money to being unhappy. So it took a while to get over that so that I could be open to making money again. So that was interesting. I had to have that pointed out to me, that I had definitely put unhappiness as a big factor of the more you make, the less time you have with your family, and the more stress you have, and brings about unhappiness. So that was my big aha moment.
That was great. You said someone pointed that out to you. Yeah, that's great. Who else has that? Who else has that? If you're making a bunch of money, you don't have time to spend with your family. Yeah, absolutely. So that was one of my contexts from growing up too. My parents both worked and they had a business on the side. And my grandparents both worked and they had businesses on the side. So it's like, okay. And so I took that into my adulthood, and I've now, of course, released that. It's like, okay, that's not the belief that I want to carry into my future. And as a self-employed person, I certainly don't want to think every day when I get up and go to do my work, go to do my business, that I'm going to be unhappy in my business that I've chosen to go out and make money. So Loudon definitely gets a door prize or a participation prize link
I'll send
there.
her the link. We also have a great comment from Demara.
Great.
Earlier she has 2 comments. One was from a little bit earlier, that money is an indicator of her impact in the world and an impact on the people she coaches. But then her second comment, which is a little more timely to what we're discussing now, is you can do work you love or you can make money, but you can't have both.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Is that a value that you still believe, Demara, or is okay? Yeah, she's like, no. It's just like totally over that. And you'd be surprised. The people I work with day in and day out, that's the belief that they come with. Is we have that really strongly ingrained in our culture that you have to work really hard about it, and about that to get your, I mean, some people say that's, buying our way into heaven. It's sort of like but again, I was brought up in the church, so strong church background, and we had to work really hard to do that. And you had to tithe, and you had to be on committees, and you had to do a lot of things like that to get ahead. It takes money to make money, right? And we see that, like Loudon said also, she's like, we see things in our global environment. It seems like, if you have the money to invest or the money to make your company profitable, that's great. And then if you don't, it's an uphill battle. So these are some of the contexts and cultures that we have. So everybody ready to roll up their sleeves and grab some caffeine if they don't have it yet? I love Demara. Demara's definitely getting a prize. She's rolling up her sleeves. So yes, we can send her a prize link. And you all will get a feedback form prize if you fill out the feedback form, which will come later in the presentation. All right, so now that we're all ready to do this, let's start discussing some of these questions, some of these kind of heavy trigger point questions. So who will share what their 3 top complaints about money are?
I will. My husband and I can never be on the same page with our attitudes about money. There never seems to be enough of it when I need it. When I don't need it, I seem to be okay. But when, the bad things come in threes, right? The car breaks down, the hot water heater dies, and, the dog throws up on the carpet. And then, what's my third one? People's focus on it's all only about the money. Because it's not, in my mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. You skipped ahead. I've got one later about cost versus value. And people do think it's like, oh, it's just like, what does it cost? Like, how many people have interviewed a client or prospective client and the first question they ask is, how much does it cost? Okay. And I've done that. I've been that person, you know. It's like, okay, I know I need some SEO for my website. And the first thing is like, okay, how much is this going to cost? Like, is this something that I even need to be talking to somebody about? Or is this something that's going on the 2022 plan? You know, like, really, am I going to have to take out a second mortgage? Or is this something that I can just say, oh yeah, that's fine, and move forward? So the cost. So Jennifer, give yourself a prize. All right, so what is the payoff for your disempowering relationship of money? And disempowering would be like kind of the woe is me, or it, you know, it takes so much work to get money. So who will share what that payoff is for them, if they currently have this belief or they had this belief and they no longer have it?
Can you clarify the question? I don't know exactly what you're asking.
Sure. As humans, we do things for a reason. So there's always some sort of payoff. Like one of the favorite business person things is procrastination. So like say, what is my payoff for procrastination? My payoff for procrastination is I didn't fail because I didn't try.
Mhm.
So if you have a disempowering relationship with money and you're keeping that disempowering relationship, what's the payoff?
Maybe you don't have to spend or waste your money, in your opinion, because you're always thinking about money, and maybe you think that it's not worth it. Like you were talking about the value, like you'll never know if. Well, the bad part is you'll never know if you should have invested in something if you never do. I'm thinking more from a business perspective.
Yeah, so you're going to be like risk adverse. You're going to be safe. You're going to be safe because you're not going to put the money forward, but you're also going to be so risk adverse that you're not putting the money in that you need. Great. All right. Send Jean a prize link. This is fun. I feel like I'm running a little game show here. See, great. All right. No judgment. No judgment. Who has a budget and they follow it more than 80%? Anne gets a prize. Just because she was brave enough to raise her hand. Okay.
Have it for my business and personally. So
Dang. I wish I could send you 2 prizes, but it's the same thing, so that wouldn't be any fun. I see a big smile from Lisa. Lisa, will you care to share your thoughts around a budget or where you're at with it?
Sure. No judgment.
No judgment.
I am not sticking to a budget recently, and I just kind of need to go back. And I think I have a pretty healthy attitude with money. I mean, because I learned more about it growing up with my dad. He did love what he did, and he was always home for 5:30 dinner in his entire career. So I just want to be more like him. And I'm kind of like Jennifer mentioned with your husband, sometimes we have different views, and that's kind of where I'm struggling right now. Thank you.
That's great. And then I love that you said you had one. Some people think budget is like a really punch in the gut word. So some people use spending plan, which is kind of fun because somebody says something about spending and like we always spend it. We love spending it. We don't necessarily love it. So definitely if we think about our budget as like our spending plan, that may be more fun, and to put something toward it. So and you know, I did not raise my hand on the I follow my budget 80% of the time. So it's always a work in progress. And please give Lisa a prize because I called on her and she was like, she jumped right in. So she's like, yes, I'm coming in here and I'm going to share. Hey, profit. Does anyone who will share that they either know their profit margin or they have a plan to take their profit first? No, Anne again. Share with us, Anne. Enlighten us on your profit strategy.
When I opened my firm last year, and before I did that, I did a lot of webinars and talked to a lot of people. And one of the things that I stuck with me was the profit first model. And I've been to seminars and stuff on it, where you got to take care of yourself first before that's the whole point, of having the business and the freedom and stuff. But so you got to pay yourself, and you got to make sure that you're paying the taxes and the business stuff, and and then investing back in the business too. So that's kind of my focus with the business.
That's great. Yes, I'm also a profit first advocate, and I'm still in the little, like, the 1%. It's like the graduated 1% class, and like taxes. So the good news about taxes is you're making money. So if you're paying taxes, you're making money, and it's like, yeah. So it's like the good news and the bad news, right? So as a small business owner, again, this is my 5th business. So there have definitely been times when my accountant would call me and say, the good news is you don't have to pay any taxes. So the flip side is the bad news is you didn't make any money last year. So it's something that you can get caught up with, and all my businesses I've been extremely passionate about. They're very service orientated businesses, and I loved to work for the sake of working. So always working, always serving clients, and like the vast majority of business owners did not know if I was making a profit until April 15th, when my accountant called and said, good news, bad news. So bad news, good news, bad news, basically it's like, okay, you owe me a check for $10,000, or, oh, guess what, you don't owe me another check except for my fees, and you're really going to have to do better next year. It's like, oh, thank you. So taking a more proactive approach, and this is something that as business people we have to do. Definitely taking the bull by the horns, and I'm really enjoying the profit first. I read Clockwork, and then I went back and read the one before that, and I am implementing that in my business. Another book, has everybody read the EMyth Revisited, or the EMyth? The EMyth, they call it the EMyth Revisited, which is actually the most current copy of the book, and I still think it was written in the 90s. I think the original EMyth was like from the 60s, but highly recommend it. For those who are entrepreneurs, which is everybody here, entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs. Intrapreneur being you work for somebody, but you have that entrepreneurial spirit, and that is part of your makeup. So awesome. So what are our relationships, or what are our things about being a borrower or a lender? What kind of triggers or feelings come up when I say what do you feel about it, or what do you get out of it if you are a borrower or a lender?
When I hear borrower, I think of debt and losing money, paying interest. And I just purchased a new vehicle, and it kills me that I have to pay interest on it all the time. So that's what comes to my mind when I hear borrower. You're losing money in the end. That's cynical, but that's what comes to my mind.
Great. And we're going to talk about lending a little bit as well. They say the best way to lose a friend is lend them money, or something like that. Yeah. So people do ask people, like, if you have the persona, or you look like you're doing very well, it's amazing how many people who are 2nd or 3rd degree connections that will come out of the woodwork and say, hey, can I borrow some money? I'm like, oh, okay. And my answer is now no. My answer before was yes and sure, and it is the quickest way to lose a friend. Another sticky situation you can get into as a business owner, and we'll look at this a little bit more in traps in a few minutes, is extending credit to your clients and your customers. So we'll talk about that again in a minute.
In case you missed it, Anne was definitely shaking her head no quite vigorously.
Don't do it. Just
I learned
don't do
from a
it.
boss. So I started out as a court-appointed attorney, and after 2 years, I went to work for a private attorney in Manassas. And he told me, I learned something from him. He said he tells people, and I've always told people since, if your friends and family and a bank or whoever won't loan you the money to hire me, like, I'm not going to do it, And so I still would stick with that. And I do payment plans in certain situations and things like that. But if they can't hire me, they can't hire me. Or if I'm going to do it pro bono, I'll do it pro bono. But I'm not going to get in a situation. I have too much going on, and I'm not going to sue clients. It's not what I do, and I don't want to spend time collecting it. So that's just always stood out to me. And I've been practicing 17 years, and it's still my mantra. So.
Great, and it is. It comes into, and it actually falls into ethics. I'm not sure if I mentioned that I was a practicing attorney for 16 years, and one of the greatest CLEs, this group called LawPay, put on a free CLE, which was an hour of ethics credit, which is always a joy to have a free ethics credit. And they said that it was a breach of integrity to not bill on time and to not collect on time. And if you ever had to sue a client for non-payment, it was your own fault, and it was bad form and not how you should run your business. And I was like, oh, great. I get that. And that's something that definitely needs to be implemented. So absolutely. So who handles your money? Who handles your money? You, someone else? Do you have professional services people that do it? Bookkeepers? Who
I
will share?
handle it. This is Laden. I handle it.
Okay.
And the soon-to-be ex-husband has finally admitted that he has no freaking clue what I've been doing for the last 22 years. So not only have I handled it, I now have to train him
Ah, yeah.
how to handle his own money. Yeah.
Handle his money. Mhm. Who else? Anybody have any specialists that they help with the money situation?
I have a bookkeeper, and then I have my accountant that advises like on the tax stuff and does the taxes, because I could do the bookkeeping being a solo, but I just have other things I'd rather do, and she's good at it, and I trust that she'll take care of it. And so it's money that I think is worth it to me, just to be able to focus on other things, because I can't do everything. You got to give up something when you're a solo. So
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And bookkeeping and accounting, I've always had somebody to assist me with that. That's not my strong suit. You know, I could do the household budget, and I can do some things through there. Again, when I was married, I was the one that would like watch things and keep the household running. But when it came to filing the taxes, especially having multiple businesses, definitely hiring a professional as soon as I could afford one, which is always sooner. Basically, the rule of thumb is hire it before you actually can afford it, because you're really wasting a lot of time and a propensity for errors. Okay, so just moving right along, we just got a little bit more that I'd like to cover, and thank you all for participating. Makes it so much more fun when people are participating. So your money conversation is also your customers and your clients' money conversation. So in one of my businesses, I actually turned down a client because she was struggling with some debt. And she told me she had some student loans. She may have had, I think she was getting ready to get married. She put some stuff on a credit card, and I turned her down as a client because of my own thoughts and feelings about whether or not this person should extend credit or not. And she actually got into a conversation with another service provider, hired that service provider, and I knew from good reference that that service provider charged 5 times what I charged. And I was like, okay. And, went back and had that conversation. It was not a competitor. It was a colleague that she ended up going with. And, so that's how I found out that information. And I was like, wow, okay. So it was my money conversation that I was overlaying onto my potential client and customer that, cost me the deal. All right. So gonna go through some traps. This is a Venus flytrap. When I looked up traps in Canva, there were a lot of really scary things. So this was like the least scary thing I could find to represent traps. All right, so just a quick laundry list of traps. Not scheduling paydays. Who schedules paydays? Yes, no, I'm just starting to schedule paydays. Liz, awesome. Thank you. Did that carry over from like a corporate job, or have you always done that with your business?
Well, I mean, it's certainly, I was in the corporate world for 23 years before I founded Mountain View Marketing 18 years ago. So it probably is a carryover, but I think you need to structure your business, no matter how small it is, with a healthy structure. I agree with Ann on a lot of the points that that she made today, as far as extending credit or debt, having paydays. I think it's really important that you run your business internally as well as you run it externally.
That's great. Liz, please send Liz a prize link. It's great. I've actually never had the benefit of being in corporate. So I've actually been an entrepreneur and have had jobs, because sometimes as an entrepreneur, you do have to have a job to support your entrepreneurial dream. But paydays have never been a thing for me. Doing long-term trades. Okay, so of course, if you want to barter, there's some great platforms where people do barter services, but be very careful of doing long-term barter relationships. I think it just like borrowing money or lending money, it makes for a resentful relationship. Extending credit. You are not a bank. Thank you, Anne. And there are a lot of like alternative lending sources out there these days. I've met with several people out networking that do alternative funding sources, and stuff like this, stuff like coaching or legal services, that certainly qualifies. Understanding your cost versus your value. I actually picked this up from one of my friends in one of my early BNI ventures, a great travel agent, and her tagline was cost is what you pay and value is what you get. And she would always share this story about somebody being stranded somewhere and she was able to lickety split, get it taken care of, and time being money on a vacation, like you have precious moments of vacation, you definitely don't want to sit on customer service yourself. And then also, who's ever done a loss leader and it turned out to just be a loss? And is everybody familiar with that term? Sharon.
No,
I'm not familiar with the term.
I don't know.
Okay. A loss leader is when you throw something out that's either free or deeply discounted. So, and this is something that you would normally charge for, not like a white paper or lead magnet, something that you can just generate and just use over and over again. This is something like someone says, come in and market my grand opening, and everybody will see that what a great job you did, and other people will call you and hire you. So you're actually doing.
I just did that because I'm an idiot.
No, we've all done it. We've all done it.
So one of my very first clients, I've always just, because she hires me for things that are like, she was the first one who hired me to do a virtual surprise party. And so very little cost to her because I was, learning and practicing and all that. Well, so it just happened again where she's now doing virtual concerts. And so there's like a event promoter that we were working to, like, I hardly charged her anything so that the event promoter would come and see, and that I could get more of these concert things. And yeah, he didn't even show up. So I made $11 on that event. That was very exciting. So not doing things like that anymore, but it was still a good, learning experience. So
you do learn. Yes. And I had people early in my business actually like tell me that. They're like, hey, you're young. They're like, I'm going to take the lion's share on this project, even though you did most of the work, because you're young and you can recover. I'm like, what? But yeah, you don't learn it until you. Sharon, you had your hand raised. Was it a question or you wanted to share?
No, I was just going to share. So
please.
So Legal Shield is a membership-based product, right? And people sign up for the membership, and most people keep it indefinitely because it's so inexpensive. But I think a lot of Legal Shield people have made the mistake of using it as a loss leader and saying, hey, I'll pay for your first month's membership. You'll sign up. And then Legal Shield pays us in advance commissions on that for a year. So if someone cancels their membership after even a month, 2 months, 3 months, we get a chargeback. So Yeah, so that's kind of a hard lesson to learn, and it's really hard because I just being giving is kind of like, hey, you need this, let me help you out. And it's, I'm kind of relearning that all the time to not shoot myself in the foot, trying to take care of other people. It's kind of like someone else was saying about put the oxygen mask on yourself first. That's a constant lesson I'm learning. So
Yes, I think we all have to choose that pretty much every day when something comes in and you're like, okay, that sounds like a really great opportunity. And I have to see, do I have the bandwidth for it? Do I have the resources for it? Really choosing that. So just to kind of recap what we've covered, we talked about relationships and we got the awkwardness of that. We talked about like the truths and context that we've learned, choosing differently, and then like triggers and traps. So what happens next? So I'd love some suggestions. I know so we've got 10 more minutes until the top of the hour. So just very quickly. So what's something that somebody's going to take away and implement from this? Who will share? Liz?
I think one thing that was reinforced to me throughout all of this is it's really not, from the business standpoint, cost as much as it's an investment for your clients. And that's how we portray our services. It's really not about cost, it's about investing in the growth of your business and the prosperity of your business. And I think when you position it that way, it makes a big difference. But you covered a lot of very valuable lessons here, as far as bartering. Been there, done that. I don't do it anymore. Um, extending credit, been there, done that. I don't do that anymore. It's definitely, being an entrepreneur is a live and learn situation, but I think you've shared some really, really valuable lessons for all of us. And I think gathering your information today and kind of weaving it into our business is a real value add for all of us. So thank you.
You're very welcome.
And
Great.
I will say, and I always love a sense of humor and a good joke, but I heard someone say recently, if you have to borrow money, borrow it from someone who is negative and a pessimist, because they don't expect you to pay it back.
I love that. I love that. They've pretty much written it off before they've even actually given it to you. Awesome. Net gets a prize for that one. Definitely send her the prize link. Also, to put in the link for everybody, a free 15-minute consultation. So if you want to share some ideas with me or get some more feedback, or share something that's confidential that you didn't want to share. And then if you will humor me, I do have a women's group coaching program that's starting next week. And I want to play my little slideshow. I think it's like less than a minute.
Oh, that's good.